Aloha and welcome to Rebel Heart Convergence, Women on the Front Lines of the Global Awakening. Join us around our virtual campfire for truth-telling, stories of awakening, oracular insight, and creative visioning as we anchor in the world we prefer and know is possible. Your presence and participation is welcome here, Sacred Sister. And I am here with my beloved friend and collaborator and co-creatrix, Christiana Rodriguez. I am Dewi Maile Lim, the founder and creatrix of this whole experience. And today the tables are turned. Christiana is going to interview me and hold the talking stick and have my transmission be able to come through her space holding. So Christiana, thank you so much for being here, for being a part of this with me today. I pass the talking stick on to you.
Thank you, Dewi Maile Lim. I am Christiana Rodriguez, and one of my greatest passions is to have intimate conversations with thought leaders, luminaries, wayshowers. So to drop into this intimate conversation with this woman who is at the front lines of great change and such a beautiful soul. I'm so grateful. So allow me to read you her bio. This is just a snippet of who she is. So Dewi Maile Lim is an artist and a guide and a serial online event producer who has been hosting and interviewing virtual events since 2010. She is a founder of Rebel Heart Convergence and Rebel Heart Creatrix, and this 9-month thought leadership incubator and platform building container for women at the front lines of awakening is here now. Her parent company, New Earth Luminary, was created to provide wayshowers and missioned souls with the tools, resources, and community support and platform to bring unique medicine to the exact beloveds it's best suited for. And her unofficial title is Cheerleader for Humanity. And her passion is bringing visionary women together to anchor in a way of unity, consciousness into form. Whoa! So, how beautiful to be able to read your bio. So now let's segue into that with Rebel Heart Convergence. Dewi's talk is about full send remembrance, dissolving the illusions of separation. So welcome, dear beloved Dewi, who is the leader of the summit that is coming out December 4th through the 8th. We're super stoked about it. And I love the tables being turned and to be able to speak to you. So yay, here we are. So now, my first question to you, darling, is this. Share with us your awakening story and take us up to the present day work that you're doing here and now in the world.
Thank you. I feel so much love in my heart to be able to have the honor and privilege of communicating what I feel so passionate about. Like, wow, the tears are already coming. So my journey started as a little girl. I guess all of our journeys started when we were little, but yeah, mine was like this in terms of the awakening. The awakening journey and arc. I have always known since I was a little girl that I was meant to be a leader of some kind. Like I would always put myself in leadership positions. I did all kinds of extracurricular activities, and I'm grateful for my parents for making that a priority for me, because I feel like I got a lot of extracurricular enrichment that was supportive for a young girl, for me to be able to learn what it's like to be of service. I was always doing like different service projects in the community, even back then. And then in high school, I chose to run for student body government every single year of high school. So I was class president freshman year, sophomore year. I lost junior year, and then the guy who won junior year and I collaborated, and I ran for vice president and he was president, and we collaborated as a team. So even back then, you know, it was collaboration over competition. I'm just realizing that. And so that's really a theme for me with my awakening. It has been in context of like evolving with others. I'm really wanting to like make a difference, you know, in my local community. And then all along through that time too, I was also an avid pen pal writer. Like this was before the advent of social media when I grew up. So I had girls that I would write to from all over the world. And I think I had 300 pen pals at one point, and like my highest letter day was like 25 letters in the mail, you know, and I would craft the envelopes and like make them artistic. And so it was a way for me to connect. So I think, you know, my journey within my own self has really been in the context of like wanting connection. And, you know, specifically reaching out even back then, like the way that I decided who I wanted to be pen pals with was based on their handwriting, because you couldn't see their photo, right? You couldn't, and it was like more of like this energetic desire, like, oh, she has cool handwriting, I want to be her pen pal. So that's how I reached out. I'm like, oh, I want to, you know, connect with her. And then we had these little things called slam books where like you would create it for one of your pen pals, and then every page had a different question, and it would just be sent around, like around the world, each person answering the questions. And then at the end, when it was full, you'd send it back to the person it was for, or you could make them for yourself. And then everybody put their little address label in, so you could see like, ooh, what were her answers and what is she into, and let me reach out to her. So that was my way of feeling, you know, tapping into what I now associate with this like field of oneness and connection and desire to be in communion with people. And then I had like a whole arc of my story where, you know, I did my party phase of my life where I was very much just having fun in a unconscious way. And I moved to New York City after college, and right at the end of college, started learning about some of the things that I thought and believed that I knew about the nature of reality were actually completely suppressed, and along a narrative that was like benefiting few and keeping most people, most of us, in the dark. And that was through the cannabis, what I started learning about cannabis and hemp in particular, how it was medicine. You know, all forms of cannabis can be medicine in a way, and then, or cultivated in that way. And then it was also like you could make plastics from hemp, like all of the quote issues on our planet could be solved by this plant. And I was like, why doesn't more people know about this? Why can't we just get with the program? And so then when I went to New York, a whole new slew of, I guess, what some would call conspiracies opened up. And this was back in 2000. So I was in New York City for 9/11, and that I already knew back then that the story that was told about that event, and even what the images we were seeing, that it wasn't necessarily what was being told. Like I'd already somehow, I guess through just that one exposure of learning about like cannabis, like I started more critically thinking. And I just saw, I also had studied communication in college, and our school was specifically focused on the study of communication the media in particular and how media affects perception. So I already knew that that was like, okay, this is actually being studied and monitored and tracked. So there's got to be something to that. So I think that I only made that connection more recently, but I believe that, and I didn't like that. Like I wasn't down with that. So afterwards, I'm like, I don't really want to do this communication thing, but I ended up still getting that degree. But that was what really, just knowing that this shit is being studied. And this was back in the mid 90s, you know, the mid to late 90s. And of course, you know, the whole narrative of what we think and believe we know and the way that it's been manipulated has been going on for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. And so when I was in New York, I got really upset about it. I got angry. And I started going to all of these demonstrations and rallies and like radical activism in the streets, like direct action and blocking, you know, streets and camping out in front of corporations and all kinds of stuff like that. And every time I would go to these rallies, I would go with like a bunch of like rabble-rouser, like young kids. And then I would like go off on my own and find where the drumming was and the dancing. And like, there was always like a core group at these rallies who were actually like in the unity vibe. And that's ultimately like what I was attracted to by going to these mass demonstrations that had tens of thousands of people many times. I would find them. And that was like, oh, this is really what it's all about. Like, we don't need to have our struggles and our agendas and our infighting and our, like, obviously we all want the same thing. We want to be safe, liberated, happy, and free. But we can just be that now.
Yeah.
Here we are, rallying in the streets, dancing. And there, I remember once there was like a push cart guy that had like this apparatus he had constructed with a push cart, and it had like all these places where you could put drums in, and then you could just take them in or out, and like around, and like all the shakers were in the box, and you could like, you know me, I like shakers. So,
yes, you do, cheerleader.
shake and dance. And so that to me was like what I really wanted, you know. And then I was like, okay, I feel like there was a pivotal moment where I felt like, what am I doing? I'm fighting for peace. Like, this does not make sense. I need to feel that peace within myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That ownership. And I reclaimed all my energy from like being like, this needs to change out there, to let me discover how I can be the change within my own self.
Mm-hmm.
I started my awakening journey. You know, that was the next phase of my awakening journey. It was more of this like spiritual seeking type phase of my life. I stopped drinking. I stopped doing any, you know, I mean, I didn't even have like alcohol in tinctures for a while. And I meditated 2 hours a day for many years. I found a spiritual teacher. I became a minister. And this was all like in my late 20s to my mid 30s, I guess, like a good 10-year stretch. And then, you know, I started like in 2010, you know, to bring it more relevant to what we're doing here now. I started doing these online summits because I wanted to talk to the others. Specifically, at the time I was still under 40, and I wanted to talk to the youth who were, I believe, were like the thought leaders of that time. And so I interviewed Gabrielle Bernstein, was a part of that one, and she had just her first book. My friend Dream there, Rainbow Mars. There were a lot of, this woman Dashma, who's a beautiful yogi. I had 5 women and 5 men. And that was the start of this idea to like gather the others and curate spaces where we can have these kinds of conversations.
Yeah.
And today it just brings me so much joy to connect, you know, and I feel like this inner experience of my own healing and growth and journey, like now that I feel safe enough to like really, and have had I guess enough retrospect in my life, enough experience to really feel accepting of me and all of my, you know, blind spots to all of my genius, you know, and to like to have enough tools and be resourced enough to be able to, like, when something comes up for me, to nip it in the bud and love myself, return to wholeness, you know, like I have those tools now. And so I really love to share what I know with others who are open and willing and resonate with my energy, because not everybody's going to resonate with me, and that's cool.
Yeah, I'm really loving as I'm absorbed and I'm leaning into this unfolding story and aspects of you too that I'm learning right now, and also witnessing your aha even while you're speaking this, that oh yes, I've always been a collaborator. I've always wanted to see peace and change agent, and now I'm recognizing that through what it seemed like artistry and connection and writing and drumming. And then now that brings us into this time and space, and what you're bringing into the world now is that, and in a very expansive way. Again, you were a woman who knew that you needed to do some shift and change within, knowing that as we shift and change our hearts within and come into full alignment, then you brought that out to the world. And that's where you're at now with how I'm, you know, even collaborating with you as a similar woman, a wayshower at the front line. So do you want to talk a little bit more about collaboration and what collaboration means? Does that feel like what you would like to enter into right now in this moment? You want to talk a little bit about why you're bringing women wayshowers with Rebel Heart Convergence to the front lines right now? Why is that important for you in the world right now?
Thanks for asking. Yeah. So this has come through in quite a few of the interviews. And this is the final one. So I can kind of reflect now on, you know, and if you're watching this like earlier on, you know, spoiler alert, that, you know, the reason why I feel it's so important for us to come together in places and spaces like this. And it's really selfish in a way for me, because I just want to play with other people that I resonate with. So I have a pretty good ability to create an insular, now that I know what you know, what I resonate with and don't, I have a pretty good ability to play in sandboxes that are conducive to like my bubble and my reality. So I do admit that like it's a selfish thing that you know, I just love women. I love being in spaces where we can be real and share our authenticity, our struggles, our wins, our truth, because it's not just like a linear thing, right? We're in this ever evolving field of experience. And, you know, a lot of people are in fear right now. A lot of people are hanging on to the little semblance of like what they feel like they can control in order to be able to feel like they're not out of control, and that they, you know, like the orientation is in error. Not that it's bad, wrong, or, you know, anything else, but it's just to me, an error to like what the truth that I believe the truth is, that we are eternal beings of light that, you know, are embodied during this time to really have our soul lab, you know, our learning lab. And so these conversations and the women that I brought into this field are oriented within this context of like where we find ourselves now in humanity's evolution, because that's another thing I'm passionate about, is like studying the eras and the movements and the, you know, the times in human history that who knows how true they are or not, but like to some extent there is some history is true. I can't tell exactly what elements, because I don't remember from when I was there before all the details, but like
that's another whole story.
Yeah. Elements of what we received, and it's like up to us. This is one of the things that's come forward in these conversations. It's up to us to be able to discern, is that true for me or not? Is this resonant? And there is the thing that's fearful or can be scary for people and bring up fear is like when everything we think and believe we know about what we've been told, the ways we've been programmed, the ways we've been raised in our culture or family of origin or religious system or parental system or educational system, institutionalized systems, when all of that is, you know, it's in our face, that how like a lot of that was a lie, and the story about what we've been told was a lie, you know, do I choose to go further down the rabbit hole to explore, okay, what is true for me? Do I take what this person that I used to trust as like a mentor or guide is saying as the truth? You know, where there needs to be a discernment happening right now with all the information overload that we are receiving, much of which is, I don't know if it's true or not.
I'm going to say it. So, you know, this brings me to, let's weave in your title with Rebel Heart Convergence, where you are desiring to speak to.
Yeah.
Speak that title.
So
say that title out loud for us.
Remembrance, dissolving the illusion of separation. So there's a couple of pieces to this, right? There's the full send remembrance part, and then there's the dissolving the illusion of separation. So just to kind of wrap all of those threads that I had going up before and bring it to this piece now, there are people that benefit. We all probably know this, that because we're all on this call together, but there are people, I'm just going to state the obvious. There are people who are benefiting from humanity, must speak collectively, staying in the dark about the truth of our own sovereign power. And so those who would benefit from that have orchestrated a very intricate, multi-century timeline that is kind of its own entity in a way. I mean, and there may be other entities involved, not going to get into that, you don't have to, but it's a layer, it's like a filter on our perception. And so I believe that in a nutshell, what that filter is, or that paradigm, another way we could think about it is a paradigm, is the paradigm or the illusion of separation. Like that's how we're kept from, you know, speaking to the red or the blue identifying person, or the, you know, person that's identifying in any way that isn't within our own identification. And even this idea of identity is an illusion ultimately, because we've all bought into the idea that we are this thing, this mean, yeah, like I am this color skin, but this race, this religion, and I'm not knocking any of that. Like if it is bringing you joy and benefit and you are feeling empowered within the context of the ways that you choose to identify yourself and play in this game, you know, if you think of this experience as a game, which is a theory, you know, that we're all in a like a video game or a movie like simulation with all these different, you know, filters placed in and pathways, it kind of gets mind-boggling when you think about it. But that, you know, one of the people that I've followed in the past, and I don't follow too much of his stuff, but I really love one of the things he says, and his name is John Rappaport. And if you want to go like deep matrix unraveling, you can look into him. But he wrote three books about stepping out of a matrix. And he talks about how when you choose to identify as a sovereign role player in this game, you can, or like envision a chessboard, like this three-dimensional plane where we're all on this chessboard. And here I am as like the queen of my own experience, this queen piece, and I can move that way and I can move this way and I can move that way, and I'm sovereign in my own space. And then there's like the Monsanto entity over there and the Fauci entity over there, and like whoever is like these characters that we're seeing that we may resonate with or not, but they're like powerful, or they're authority figures, right? And then here we are, if we can orient ourselves like as a being of light with conscious presence and focus on the chessboard as a player, and acknowledge that we do actually can make moves, and we don't need to be affected by that thing or that thing. And if we want, we can actually affect change. Then that kind of helps like me to kind of orient myself. And then also one of the things he talks about that I want to weave in is, and it's very near and dear to my artist heart, is he says that that imagination is what's going to need to be engaged in a whole new way for humanity to transition from this illusion of separation into unity consciousness, which has been prophesized. You know, it's not a new idea that we're headed in this direction, and it already is. Like, we are already in this field. So like this idea of dissolving the illusion is it's not that we have to fight it or diss it or trample and stample on it or cancel it. You know, we don't have to do any of that. We can simply, because we're all a part of it. It's not to say too that we've all been paying our taxes, those of us who do. We've been buying into this idea that like, you know, income needs to be taxed and whatever else things they told us that we need to do in order to be productive societies, members of society, and have our roads paved and our highways continuing to whatever that story is, right? You know, like we've all bought in on some level, and a lot of people choose to keep perpetuating it because they live in fear of what could happen to them if they do step out of it. So when we do, because Monsanto like isn't outside of me, like what are the ways that I've been like Monsanto or now Bayer, you know, now they're one big conglomeration, right? What are the ways that the things that I don't like in Monsanto or Bayer, how am I disowning or displacing that within me? And then dissolving that is also dissolving the separation too, because then it's just like, oh, that's, you know, that's them doing their Monsanto thing. I choose piece. I choose eating food from farmers that I know who do value the quality of the soil and the quality of the food and the quality of the seeds. I can choose my own alternative. You know, I can choose, and I can support others who are doing the same. I can put my, you know, we're all eating, most of us, so I can invest my money into, you know, as much as I can to get the healthy, non-GMO, non-glyphosate poisoned food. And so the piece about the full send remembrance is, you know, this is all my own paradigm. So like everyone, I didn't say this in the beginning, but you know, take it or leave it. I'm not, you know, trying to push my frame of reality on you. If it resonates, great. So I just want to say that as a caveat. But my frame is full send remembrance. So remembrance, capital R, is like, okay, remembering who I am, my birthright as a divine being of light, expressing as this, you know, limited, to some extent I'm limited in this reality, right? I said yes to coming in to this limited reality, to this matrix. And I choose, though, my remembrance and affirm that as much as possible, because that, if imagine all of us affirming that remembrance, like if you want to play the thought game with me of us each in our own individual sovereign state of being, where we're not, yes, we like to play and dance and like engage with others, but we're not, our state of safety and our own personal sense of worth isn't affected by like what that person's saying about me, or if they're playing with me or not. Like I can be in my own brilliance and then play and pray with those that I want to. You know, imagine all of us doing that, and then also like expressing the gifts, skills, and talents that we have cultivated, or maybe like are remembering from like other lineages or lifetimes or whatever. Like who knows how these gifts come in.
Yeah.
But some are gifts, and to be able to even see and perceive that being here now is a gift, even through all of this, you know, bloodshed and struggle, which isn't anything new. It's a karmic, or whatever you want to call it. It's a loop. It's a loop in that way of, you know, that the other is not me. That's the
Therefore the separation. Therefore the separation you're speaking of.
Yeah, the other is not me is like the you know, that's how I get to bomb that person, or, you know, be anti, or, you know, so the full send piece is, you know, full send to me means like doing the remembrance no matter what, like no matter how many times I forget, or, you know, something quote happens to me, or, you know, I've been going through like a court experience with my brother. So, you know, I'm in that, it's just ended, but I've been in that matrix, but I'm not making it mean something about myself that I'm bad or wrong, or, you know, like because I choose the full send remembrance part. And so that's full send remembrance : dissolving the illusion of separation. Like that's what we're tasked to do, those of us who choose to. And then from there, we can see what miracles want to unfold.
Yes, and that's where we're at right now. You said, imagine what we could do now, right? By bringing it, I love how it's created a full circle, this conversation. So now you're in a place where for years, and since 2010, as you've said, that you've been collaborating with your artistic self and this Creatrixmind and this new Earth vision with luminaries and wayshowers and change agents, specifically loving the playbox of working with women. So now you have, I know I have traveled with you for a good gestation of a year, 9 months and more of collaboration with other thought leaders, such as yourself. And I know that we have both mentored each other as we share our medicine with one another. And now your vision is that you want to continue spreading that energy out to others to let them know too, this is a process of humanity as our human spirit asks us to look within to gain alignment with self and our own truth, to play with on that chessboard, knowing that we can create a new world. And so now here you are, December 4th through the 8th, collaborating with 11 powerful women at the forefront. You brought that together. And these women are coming together, sharing their story as you are sharing your story. How do you feel about that right now, cheerleader?
Like, this is the shit, y'all. I mean, I get to do, I'm, giving myself permission here and now to continue to be in this trust field. And you asked me earlier about the collaboration piece, like what I see is possible. Like, the leadership theme that's been a big theme for me throughout my life. And so what I love to do is to celebrate and honor the leaders we all are, and for us to actually see ourselves as such, and to encourage those who are in my field and want to be encouraged to keep going for what is the deeper embodiment of that, what is the highest level timeline of that, like what is possible. And so for those of us who feel called and inspired to identify and orient ourselves on this chessboard of life, of all of creation, on the front lines, if there would be, I see us like as this crystalline grid, really on the crystalline grid of the forefront of the global awakening.
Maybe let's go for it. I love it.
We're we are still shoulder to shoulder, because I like that one too. Heart to heart, feel, this like a mycelium, like the mushrooms do it. Like do it like the
we'll be mushrooms.
So not everybody is like us. Not everybody wants to do.
True.
No, not everybody wants to. I'm specifically calling out all my forefronters, all my, points of light, who, with whatever time we have left embodied on this journey, why not freaking make the most of, whatever your faculties and facilities are. I know a sister who, I think she has been diagnosed with ALS. She can't write, she can't type, she can't speak anymore. She's probably like 50. She's pretty, to me, young. And she's been using like software that allows her eyes to be like she's able to communicate now with her eyes.
Amazing.
Doing like these beautiful transmissions from her bed, of like how grateful she is.
Yeah, again, that brings us back to the personal. What are we doing here personally? So she took that situation and is bringing it out to the world. So here you are doing the same. And inviting others. It's an invitation to join you in this vision. That's not only your vision, but there are more of us.
Yeah.
Popping up like mushrooms and mycelium, right? That have this beautiful vision for ourselves personally and collectively. Fruiting
body.
I
of
love that.
the body.
I really love that. Yeah, that's, that's the energy that you exude. And so, and each of the women that you've invited into being in collaboration with you on the summit of Rebel Heart Convergence are here to do the same, each sharing their story. And I feel it's really brilliant how you have brought this forward in a way that anyone that wants to opt in to listening to what you're sharing can listen to it, like they can dose themselves with it and watch all the videos and of each interviewed woman and what they're doing in the world, their awakening story and what they're doing in the world right now to be at the, within this crystalline grid. And it's important for me to cheerlead you on as well, because I am so all about what you're here for. And I want to make it clear for those that are watching, how is it that they can be part of this? Tell us more about how you can opt in, because it's not just about listening. You're also extending that out to others right now as a fundraiser. I mean, it's multifaceted what you're doing. So tell us a little bit more about how viewers can find you, find us, learn more, get involved, and also your programs that happen afterward, because you're just not leaving them with this beautiful spiritual banquet. You're also saying, oh, you can also work with me. How can viewers do that?
Thank you. So if somehow you happened on this content and you're not opted in for the series yet, go ahead and do that so we can be in each other's field. And the thing about this experience that makes it unique and different, well, I'll give you the URL first. It's rebelheart.world. And so that's for you if you haven't yet somehow, if you've gotten to this and you haven't yet been a part of that inner circle. And then, it is pretty time sensitive. So the week of, which is already next week at the time of this recording, we will be gathering in community live twice. So that's really what I want to encourage you, if you are listening to this and we're still in the week of airing, which is December 4th through the 8th, 2023. On the 5th, there's one, and then on the 8th, that's a Tuesday. If you're this side of the date line, I like to also honor my people on the other side, but it's the following day. So Tuesday and Friday of this side of the date line. It's so please, it's in all the information. Once you put your name and email address in, if you're in, then you're going to get all of that information. You can just click to join us. And this will be a forum, because this is how I roll, where we all show up. You could think of it like a cross between a sister circle networking and like incubator for ideas, all of the above. There'll be sound healing as part of it. So some of my sisters that do sound healing and will really assist us to drop in during that time together. And then there is a fundraiser involved with this too, like you said, Christiana, so people can opt in or not, but if you'd like to contribute to this fundraiser, not only do half of the proceeds go to Maui entrepreneurial women who have been completely displaced by the Lahaina fires, but you also get to help to fund this operation with the other half, because it's free of charge. So it's like a love offering towards what this creation is. And then in exchange, you get all the replays, you get all of the replays of the calls, the Convergence live calls, and then you also on 12/12 get access to the new Earth Visioning Play Shop. So my art guide self will be facilitating that experience. And I think Christiana and I are going to get to do it in person together. So we're going to be broadcasting live again, a 90-minute opportunity for those of you who want to play in that space. And you'll get a taste of my medicine. I'll offer another opportunity to, if you ever want to talk about how we could collaborate together, or, if you want to be in my field more often with me as a mentor or guide, supporting you, birthing your new Earth vision into reality, then I work one-on-one with clients and then also in groups. So that can all be that, get on my list so that you can hear about these things as they unfold in real time. And whether or not, we're meant to officially work together and exchange energy in that way, I just really value you and you matter to me. And, find, if it isn't our group, find another group that is doing this level of visioning and anchoring in what we prefer, because that is another theme of this event that I wanted to make sure I highlighted, is that every interview has this, it's kind of woven in multiple ways, but like what is possible for us when we tend to our own inner landscape, when we give ourselves the time of day, when we do the healing and, dissolve the illusion within our own selves, the illusion that we were ever separate or like broken to begin with, that's
yeah, amen to that.
Yeah, so that is my invitation, is just to stay tapped into this field. We have New Earth Sisterhood, which is our Facebook group, and we also have the Rebel Heart Telegram thread. So those are also 24/7 forums where you're able to chime in and share your insights. And if you want to be on with us live, make sure you come to the live experience.
And also, all of the speakers have free gifts. All of those luminaries that are on that beautiful council are giving away free gifts. So it's beautiful.
Some of which, a handful of which, are brand new, created just or inspired by this experience. So the whole top row of the image of the sisters who are part of this convergence have been in the Rebel Heart Creatrixmind container together this past year. So that most of them are creating all new.
So exciting. I'm really have been tearing up and so absorbed and deeply listening to the love that exudes from you and the passion and the artistry and all that you are, Dewi. And I, on a personal level, there's so much to speak to. And I do invite those that are listening to get to know Dewi Maile Lim and the work that she's doing. And the Cheerleader for Humanity really is a description that, it's just a small description of this multifaceted human. And so grateful that you are here on this planet, that I'm here with you on this planet now during pivotal times. This is such a choice point right now, and this choice point to opt in for yourself, feed on this beautiful banquet of goodness that is here, and also join us, be part of what we're doing. And just so grateful. Is there anything else you wanted to share before we close?
I feel like we did such a beautiful, authentic, it's been so delightful. I pray that this reaches exactly the perfect divine souls that it's meant to, and that you see yourself as part of this, that there's no also like hierarchy here. We're really co-creating this together. It really is going to take more of us, fully owning and stepping into our divine birthright to be able to exist and thrive. And together, it's even more fun to do it. I believe the way of the lone wolf is over, and collaboration over competition. That the competition paradigm is also one of separation too, because it's like, okay, we're competing against the other, and it's like got this element of againstness, which can serve and motivate, like it can serve and motivate. And there might be another way of being that is even more in flow and not from a different fuel source, not from the effort of pushing. And that's really, the way of the feminine that you so beautifully express and source from Christiana, which is how I've, fully in my own self, marinated into and accepted and allowed more of that within myself, too. So that is more of the feminine way. And we can, act, once we're in that place of sacred center, we can act, and outer, into the materialized form, we can act from there. And leave those that are meant to, co-weave with us. They know that they came here for these times. And so it's really about finding the others who will support you to thrive and to go for the dream within you that just won't go away, the vision of how you're meant to specifically share your medicine. So anyone who feels resonant with that and would like to play and pray with us.
Yes, come play and pray with us. And we're going to cheerlead our way out of here. I am so grateful, and congratulations to birthing this summit. So beautiful celebration of you and each of us as we continue to walk our truth and move forward as visionaries and wayshowers, luminaries of this heaven on earth here now. So much love.
Couldn't do without you.
And I couldn't do it without you. So welcome to our Love Fest. So much love. You have been listening into Dewi Maile Lim and Christiana Rodriguez, and we're going to say aloha as we cheerlead our way out of here. So much love.